Good day, everyone. I'm Roseanne Rabiola Miele, and I am with the big team here. We got the big team. I'm so happy. Okay. First, let me tell you what day it is because yesterday I forgot what day it was. Today is Sunday, August the 10th, and it's a little after 2 o'clock in my neck of the woods over on the West Coast. And see, I never know how this is going to show up, but I think everybody's name is there. So I'm going to go first with Jen Expresses. That's Jen, and I want everybody to follow her
I
on
do.
BlueSky. I know.
You're
Then
Red
we
Rebel.
have
I follow
Cheryl.
you back. That's good.
Now, Cheryl is Red Rebel. Okay. And I'm trying to remember all the good team member names so I can just pop them right in there when I tell people who to follow. And then we have Sam Stribling one. Okay. And
That's me. That is me.
that's you. It does say James there, but that's cool. I want you to follow Sam Stribling one. Then we have,
Okay, let me write that down.
yes, Sam Stribling one. Okay. Then we have the brawler, the one, the the only Patrick Lovell. Okay.
Word.
Right. Now, the five of us, I'm like I'm just really happy we're all here because part of my last 5 years, I'm not going to talk about the past 71 later, but the last 5 years since I met Patrick, we've been working to do what? Simply to get the truth and the facts and the details that keep getting, I mean, we keep getting verified and verified and I don't want to use the word verified. What's the other word I want to use?
Validated.
Validated. That's the word. Okay.
What was that word? I didn't hear that.
Validated.
Validated.
Oh,
Okay.
validated. Yep.
Right. We get validated every single day. Now, you guys, the three of you here, picked up on that. Okay. We've been pushing that boulder up Mount Everest in the snow with no shoes, with a 100-pound backpack on our back backwards. We've been doing it for 5 years. Okay. And people are, I don't know, are they blind, deaf, dumb, stupid, lazy, bought off?
Dumb and lazy.
Okay. It's Cheryl. Say that again, Cheryl. Talk to
Dumb and lazy.
dumb and lazy. Okay, sometimes I used to tell Patrick stupid and lazy a long time ago. And excuse me, we had many conversations about that. But there are other things that enter into it. And the other things I think that enter into it, you have to look at why it took people to leave England to come to North America to be here quite some time before they decided they got to have a revolution. They got to break the bonds. No kings, right? So, while I agree, stupid and lazy, dumb and lazy, paid off. See, my thing is kind of paid off, okay? Because I've seen the white envelopes fly in in Chicago. Okay. Over here, they don't even have white envelopes in Nevada. I think they give them gift cards. Okay. Or they give them freaking casino chips. But I think they're doing something here in Las Vegas that they're not going to let you go from one casino to another with the different chips. I don't know. I don't go to the casinos. There's all kinds of hotels I've never been in, and I've been here 30 years. Okay. So, Jen, what do you think keeps people away from grabbing on, holding on to the truth? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of things, but I think it's fear.
Okay.
Um, and I think some people are kind of complacent. Um, they, and that's kind of a bad combination. But you have to have, and when we need to spread the word, you have to have the desire to get to the truth. And some people just like being complacent, they just don't care. I mean, they're just going about their everyday lives and um, and then they don't want to make waves or maybe they're just being passive about it. But we can't be passive about it. We can't. We just got to step up now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Sam, what do you think? What do you think keeps people from really grabbing on to the truth and sharing it?
Well, I agree with a lot of what Jen said and what you said too, but I do think that it's mostly I don't know that it's laziness, but it's like I think other people are going to take care of this, so I don't need to do anything about it. I think that's a lot of what it is.
See,
Like if we can just keep our head down long enough, then we'll wake up one morning, everything will be fine.
yeah,
You nailed it, Sam.
very good. See, all of the things that you guys mentioned, and you're all from different parts of the country, different age groups. I'm the oldest one. Um, Patrick and I have talked about this for over 5 years. Okay. It's these pieces, all these pieces keep people from reading, absorbing, sharing the truth. But you guys are there, all right? You guys are there. You share my stuff, Patrick's stuff all the time, all the time, all the time. Okay. Patrick, where are you? He's got his mic off. That's okay. So listen,
There he
what
is.
do you wanna make a comment about putting all the reasons together and why you think people don't grab on to the con and the clean new deal?
Okay,
Besides,
that's the first time you've said that as opposed to the truth, right? So this is what I was going to take a little bit of umbrage with, but not in a negative way, but just in terms of learning from our friends here and getting feedback, which I'm absorbing and I'm listening to and I'm learning from, because we have been after this for a long time, and so everything that everybody has said is, I'd say, accurate. But I think that I want to take that to the next step because when you said, why don't people grab onto the truth? And then you don't describe what the truth is. Some people start to mistake the truth as, well, what are you going to sell me, a religious truth? You're going to sell me some kind of truth of like some great real estate deal? There's a lot of different types of truths that aren't truths, right? There's a lot of truths that are like, I remember when you and I had attended the No Kings rally, I should say it was the 50501 rally, the first one, and a woman got up on the microphone, which was she was pre-chosen to give a speech, and she was a younger woman, and she goes on about how truth is subjective, and I thought to myself, oh my God, this is really a problem because yes, there's religious truth, there's existential truth, there's universal truth, there's all sorts of things that we on our personal journeys in life tap into, become part of a community, do this, that, and the other, and we find belonging in some sort of metaphysical thing, be it, something that, I can belong to, so that hopefully in the long run, A, I fit in somewhere, and B, I go on to someplace better when I pass, right? Okay, those are just what people might disregard as truth. So what we're talking about is the way our legal system is constructed. So the legal system is constructed such that we have laws, and we have laws that are basically the foundation, the structure of society that determines outcomes and accountability by way of these laws and the way we work. Now, we all know, for example, on the hierarchy of degrees, you can't go kill somebody, so presumably, and get away with it, right? First degree murder is something where you are, if guilty, you get your fingerprints, you have your gun, the emails, you have the opportunity, you have all of those things that fit into what the law says is a different degree of accountability, first degree, second degree, third degree. That's an extreme example, but it's all predicated on the truth of that story. Why did somebody murder somebody? Okay, well, if it's proven that they did it and it meets all of these criteria, that's the truth of that story that has an outcome, right? So, what are we talking about here? Well, today I was hit by, like I am every single day, many, 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 as you started off with, Roseanne, validations of what we're trying to get people to understand. So, the first thing is Trump is going to go mop up homeless people, okay? He's going to get rid of homeless people all over the country. Now, starting in the Capitol, no more homeless people in the Capitol. Yeah. His proclamation was, if you thought that we moved fast on immigration and that there's no illegal immigration anymore, these guys are going to be gone in a second. Now, it's kind of interesting to think about where they might be going to. But what we're trying to make you guys understand is that here's a guy who's a criminal president that we know was involved with an insurrection, which he shouldn't have been able to run for president. But he's been involved with crime and fraud and lying, stealing, and cheating. And now we know, well, for decades, right? We know that across the board. He was convicted of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records and lying prior to, being able to run for presidency for the second time, even though it was illegal. But then on top of that, here's a guy that's been bankrupted 6 times, and he was about to be bankrupted for the 7th time. Okay? That means if you go bankrupt, you don't get a chance to go get loans from banks. At least that's for most of us, right? But in the case of Donald Trump, up until he started running for politics and was able to get backdoored, as it turns out, I think approximately $10 billion since he's taken presidency. He's gotten $10 billion since he's been president. The salary of the president is $460,000 to be the most powerful person in the world. He has backdoored $10 billion through grift, lying, stealing, and cheating. Everything's against the law from countries like UAE. Who knows what Saudi's into it for? I mean, he's got, crypto, blah, 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 theft. And now he's going to go mop up all of these people. And there's as many reasons for there are homeless people and homelessness as there are people, right? Every person has a different construct of why they might have wound up in that situation. And we can't throw a broad-based brush on the whole thing. But what I can say from what some of the truth is that we're trying to get you guys to understand, meaning writ large in the country and everything else, is that the likes of Trump and this unbelievable disaster of being able to use Air Force One to go cheat at golf, to be able to use our military and ICE to go illegally get rid of legal citizens, and then on top of it is going to do this fascist mop up and put homeless people somewhere while he's getting $10 billion illegally, right? Mm-hmm. Is the circumference on top of being a pedophile. I remind you, do we all not know that his Department of Justice is covering up for massive pedophilia, that we can all see clearly that this isn't just a sort of rogue DOJ with some bad actors. We're talking about a complete corrupt Department of Justice. They're the ones who administer the law for the United States, alongside Congress and the Supreme Court. By the way, they're all corrupt, completely corrupt. Do we not know that altogether? We all know that. Everybody watching this knows that.
We
But then,
know that, and he got his get out of jail free card by stealing the election.
that's
He'd
right.
be behind bars.
So have you guys ever asked yourself how a transactional pig con artist who's guilty of rape and theft and all of these types of things and insurrection can be the guy who's in the Oval Office, the most powerful position in the world? How's that possible, right?
Because all his backers are corrupt.
Bingo. How did they all get that way? Anybody know?
Money.
Lobbying?
Because of what we're telling you. Okay. So this is what we're showing you. So the Clean New Deal is the revelation of the largest criminal conspiracy and cover up in history that never ended, where we gave the rapist, con artist, transactional pigs that are all just like Trump, but even worse, he's kind of a small level player, quite frankly, compared to the guys we're talking about. But we gave them tens of trillions of dollars illegally after they were bankrupt to now use our military against the people. So the question I'm asking all the people out there, and I did this earlier than I anticipated, but what are you guys doing? Somebody else is going to take care of the problem. This too shall pass. No, everybody's going to get steamrolled. Everybody is in the crosshairs of this. Millions of people are going to die, literally. And when I'm revealing about that, I'm talking about because USAID has been clipped. We provide AIDS medication to African countries where they don't get that medication quickly. Millions of people are going to die like yesterday. I mean, it's already been happening. Okay. In the United States, we all know we see ICE building detention camps, taking these people. So why don't people want to actually fight for their own life and justice together to defeat what is the ultimate anti-American, authoritarian, Nazi, fascist system in the history of the United States? Your guess is as good as mine. But stupid and lazy, I guess, is going to have to be the answer for the moment.
Cheryl, talk, Cheryl.
Okay, here's my thing. We have never really had to fight a war on our soil like other nations have. I mean, yeah, we had the Civil War, yeah, we had the American Revolution, but since then, the people whose memories are, rolling right now, it's comfortable. It's safe. Nobody wants to rock that boat to fight against our own. And nobody knows where to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jen.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with her. We don't know where to start, and that's kind of where fear comes in too. You're afraid
Yeah.
to start. Some people are afraid to start, and that's why it's like we fight together. We need to fight together. We need to unite. And that's why I always write, like hashtag together we fight, because we need strong strength in numbers.
Right, we
Because
do, but right, we do. But the problem is like I said, nobody knows where to start. We've been protesting, we've been
yep,
picketing, we've been doing all of these things, but nothing is changing. And I mean, we have been coming out in pretty good numbers, but not everybody can. And nobody wants to risk losing their jobs. And people have childcare problems. And see, these are issues, like I said, like we've never really had to fight a battle in our memory, in our lifetimes. We've never had to fight a battle on this soil. We see people in Europe, we see people in Palestine. We see people in the Nordic countries protesting on our behalf. We see people in Canada doing it. I mean, and they're pretty much just like us. I mean, they're running on our tails, corporatizing and monopolizing everything and all of that. But we see all of the Hungary and Turkey. We see all these protesters protesting on our behalf in much larger numbers than it looks like we're coming out in. And why is that? Because we have never really had to do this for ourselves.
Let me offer this real quick, and I want to ask James Dribbling because first of all, what I'm so inspired by is that you're women. I love that. I love the fact that women have got such an incredible courage. I've discovered that like crazy. Roseanne Rabiola Miele, my colleague in this whole thing, is as powerful a human being as I've ever met, especially when it comes to ethics and morals and truth and justice and liberty and demand for all of those types of things. And she proves it every single day because she helps people in need every single day. She's on the front lines doing triage. She's just an amazing human being and groundswells this thing. But in terms of nobody knows where to start, we do. That's what the whole Clean New Deal is. We know exactly where to start. And we're going to lay that out in just a second. But that's what this is all about, is learning from you guys what your priorities are, how you kind of think about things, what you think should happen. And then ultimately, hopefully, meld that into what we've done, because that's what we lay out every single day are the answers. That's the whole thing. But I guess what I'm learning from you guys and everybody else is, and I have to, kind of think about this from our experience. Roseanne met me after a 71-year journey where she understood corruption. She knew that it was happening. She just didn't have the details. When she discovered me, she was like, oh my God, this guy put together what I knew they were doing the whole time, but I never knew how they did it. Now, the question is, well, how was I able to do that? Well, I'm a producer and I'm an investigator and I do this stuff and I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time and I'm an activist, blah, blah, blah. And I was able to find the resources to be able to do this. But what I ended up doing was the work of what the federal government's supposed to do. The Department of Justice, the FBI, the SEC, the state AGs and so on and so forth. So it was a massive, massive undertaking. And people who are watching this and yourselves might be like, well, why haven't we heard about you, Patrick? Well, I guess we could ask the same question to the young women that were basically fed to this Epstein machine that went around for 20 years trying to get people's attention to let them know what was going on, and everybody ignored them until now it's politically expedient, and that's just symptomatic of mainstream media. They're sycophants. They're disgusting. They're just going to exploit everything, but they're not. They want to overwhelm you so you don't see the forest for the trees. So you can't simply put 1 + 1 = 2, which is it's theft. They're stealing. But who's stealing, how and why are they stealing, and everything else is what we put together. Now, our friend Mr. Stribling is an engineer, from what I understand. Now, engineers know first principles. They know the embodiment of the way systems work. That's what they do. That's what they studied. That's what they make, a living doing. So, Mr. Stribling, if you don't mind me asking you, given what you've heard from our friends here and knowing what you've known, can I ask you the same question? First, how do you see the situation at the moment as an engineer? How do you kind of reconcile what I just laid out? And then 3, what about the Clean New Deal is speaking to you?
Yeah, well, let me just say I'm actually not an engineer. I'm a biologist. I'm an ecologist, and I've worked with a lot of environmental engineers. So
okay, got it. That scientist, engineer, kind of similar
yeah,
methodologies.
I know how they think, how they organize, how they try to get things done, and hopefully I've been fairly successful in my career being able to get them to listen to the ecological side of things. And I think we've done pretty well. But the deal for me is that we've got following on what Cheryl said earlier about we've never had a war on our soil, and since the Civil War, that is largely because we are a nation of laws, and we had the Department of Justice, we had FBI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that investigated, they figured it out, they charged, they put the people away that were doing the bad stuff at all levels, not just the low level, like us, it was more even white collar they put away. They're not doing that now. They've basically given carte blanche to Trump and anybody who loves him to do whatever they want. Basically, they're not doing anything about it. And so that's really been the last 10 years, 15 years that's been going on, or I think maybe longer than that. But the, well, I'm sorry, Patrick, what was your other question?
Well, from where you're coming from, and I think this is the most important question. So, as a scientist with interest, obviously, in climate change and being
Yes,
on an
right.
activist
Okay.
role and all those types of things, how do you interpret the Clean New Deal and your list of priorities as what the problems are that our nation is facing from where you're sitting?
Right, and my two biggest issues. First one is climate change and how we're just going in a completely opposite direction of where we need to be going for that right now. And then the other thing is the separation of church and state. To me, those are my two biggest issues right now. And until Trump is out of office, until these criminals are out of office, we're not going to be moving in the right direction to take care of that, to make those things happen the right way. And we're,
And they're going
that's
to
those,
cheat.
So can I address this? Oh, wait, somebody was about to say something. Who was?
that's Roseanne.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying they'll cheat, lie,
Oh,
and steal to keep themselves in power. I mean,
yes,
we're on a verge of losing our right to vote.
yes,
And and then with this gerrymandering going on and just all this stuff, they're cheating, they're lying, they're stealing, so we can't vote. So
Right. Okay.
democracy is dead.
That's right. It is, and you're absolutely right. And I was warning about this for the last 5 years. My cut to is corruption burrs and fuels fascism, and it's happened throughout the entire history before even we had a word called fascism. That was, basically any sorts of tyranny throughout history. It's the same type of thing, just has different faces. But to your point, Gen B, and I'm going to bridge this to what James had just said. So here's the thing about the Clean New Deal, right? It's the resurrection of the law. It's putting the pieces of the law back in place first and foremost, okay? Because this is all simple. Trump is a RICO president. It's all racketeering. I could literally look every single day and probably come up with hundreds of predicate acts that I see unfold every single day. And he's got complete control. Well, how does he have complete control to bring it full circle? He's got the technocrats. The technocrats know how the system works, but who are the technocrats paid for by? This billionaire apparatus. Where did the billionaire apparatus get above the law? Because of what I've just told you. They stole 71 trillion since 2009. Now ask yourself, anybody by a show of hands, or if you want to chime in, do you think this is what's been going on in the history of the United States the whole time, or do you think this is a recent phenomenon?
I think it's been going on all along.
Jen, what about you?
I agree. It's been going on. It's just hasn't come to light until the corruption with Trump and his band of reverse Robin Hoods being so much in the limelight now that now it's more apparent when people are like, oh, hey,
Yeah,
it's,
I say it's
but it's
naked.
always
It's
been going
naked.
on.
It's
It's
naked. It's
naked
naked.
now. It's not,
Right.
yeah, not
It's the
cloaked.
emperor's new clothes on really bad acid, is what I like to say. But let's see. James, can I ask you to answer that question? Do you think it's
yeah. I
happened the
mean,
whole time?
I completely agree. It's been going on for probably forever to an extent, but I think it's gotten worse. We see a lot more. I think the news does, what we get out of the media, as much as we don't like the media, we do get a lot more of these things kind of hitting the fan, and we become aware of it. It might have been there all along, but it's more obvious now, and
Yeah,
probably
but it's also
intensified.
right, but it's also more obfuscated because there's more voices, there's more lies, there's more,
Exactly. Yeah.
there's
They're
more
flooding. They're trying
algorithms,
to.
there's more manipulation, there's more tech
Yep.
bros, okay? And that's not
Yep.
innovation. That's manipulation and Goebbels like propaganda, okay? That's just using psychology through
Right.
technocracy. But I want to be
It's
absolutely
like
clear here.
Steve Bannon said, flood the zone. That's what they're doing.
That's right. But I want to be absolutely clear here for you guys and everybody else who's watching this. Never in the history of the United States or the history of the world has anything remotely this big taken shape since 2009. Not even close. First of all, never in the history of the Federal Reserve, going back to 1913, and this includes the Great Depression where all this stuff comes from, never did we use the full faith and credit of the United States to guarantee global racketeering. Not even close. So I think we had something along the lines of a $1.9 trillion deficit through the Fed in 2000 up to 2007. That freaking jumped up to like 17 trillion in 2009. Okay, because of what I'm telling you. Now, guys, please understand this. And I'm just going to set the budget here, or the table. The budget of the United States, or I should say the GDP, the gross domestic product, the entirety of every economic activity in the United States is roughly 25 trillion. We're still the largest economy on the planet. That's annually. We're still the largest on the planet. China's getting up there. Okay. That's for 350 million plus people. Okay. So the total goods and services, everything, right? We gave 71 trillion dollars to maybe, and I just throw this number out there, roughly 300,000 people in the financial system. Okay. Now, does it make sense when people like Bernie Sanders and so forth go, we got to stop the billionaires? Who are the billionaires? What are the billionaires doing? Why are they doing it? And how are they able to do it? Now, Jen, I see you looking at me like a deer in the headlights, and I know your mind's working
Me?
because you're a smart person. Let me ask you a question.
Pop,
What
pop,
in the
look,
world,
I don't know how I was doing that.
what in the world could in any way, shape, or form in your mind, because you've obviously been around and you've seen the United States the way it's been for a long time. How is it possible in your eyes that a guy who we know is a lying, thieving, twisted pig who we can see cheat on the golf course, who's maybe killed his former wife? I know a lot of people joke about his wife on some golf course somewhere. I just use that to be kind of kidding. But how this guy, who's literally involved with pedophilia, after treason, could be, we didn't give him the 71 children. They took it. Yeah. And he's a transactional con artist pig. And you made the huge point earlier, both of you guys, both Sam and you, Jen. And I know, Cheryl, you know this up close and personal in Texas. And I posted this earlier today on my Substack. I'm like, how is it that the guy I just described could actually create a mega merger between those, what do we call them? The mega churches and those billion-dollar pastors, right? And everything that those guys are all about. In fact, Cheryl, I want to turn this question to you because you see it up close and personal in Texas. How is it possible a guy who's a raping, con artist, treasonous, pedophilia pig could break bread with all of these mega church pastors? Tell me, it seems like there's some continuity there, doesn't it?
Well, of course there is. Here's the deal with the evangelical megachurch people. They don't believe the freaking religious nonsense any more than I do. And I don't. And they believe in money. That's it. That's it. And their little followers that they get their money from, they might believe in the Sky Daddy. Okay. They might believe in the fairy tales and the Bronze Age goat fucker storybook. But what they don't, they are sheep because religion is an authoritarian, fascist, subjugation type of framework. So people who like authoritarians love religion. They love it.
Okay, and now here's the interesting thing about the construct between where you two are coming from there and what Sam was talking about being, a man of science, a man where climate change is the most important thing, as it is, quite frankly, to me. They all go hand in hand, the corruption and, the climate change. Because why? What is Trump doing? Trump is taking us 50 years, 70 years back. He's playing ball with all the fossil fuel guys that run the world. And that's part and parcel to our economy. I'm from Texas originally too, Cheryl. I grew up and I understand the fossil fuel industry. I understand the military industrial complex. I understand the financial industrial complex. And I understand the Americans' position, the dollar's position as the global reserve currency. And that has been tied to, since 1971, obviously oil, right? That's what we did. We got off the gold standard and we basically became the de facto oil standard. This is just these guys holding on to power with their cold dead hands kind of thing over the course of now decades. And what are they going to use to be able to create this shambolic, mythologic, Trump, right? To be able to control the theocratic scenario, just like they do in Saudi Arabia, right? They're a theocratic state. You control the masses with the local religion to keep them in check, to hurt everybody else, so that these guys can rape, steal, and pillage, without anybody being able to stop them. Because the people that could stop them are institutions that are the FBI, the Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the governors, the law, yada, yada, yada. But when Trump became president, and this is how diabolically brilliant but sick these motherfuckers are,
corrupt. That's why he has corrupt backing.
They created the unitary presidency with the Supreme Court, where they paid one. Do you guys know how much money flowed into the Supreme Court since, I'd say, probably 2015? Do you have any idea from
Mm-mm.
outside sources?
I don't.
I don't know the
Uh,
figure, but I mean, I know it's monster.
1.5 billion. How many people are on the Supreme Court?
Only six that are currently mattering right now.
And you're right. Yeah, and you're right. I'm not saying they got directly hit with 1.6 billion because obviously that would be pretty wild, but I wouldn't
No,
put it
but
past them.
Harlan Crow, Clarence Thomas is Harlan Crow's House Negro.
That's right.
And then you've
Leonard
got the
Leo.
Heritage, Leonard
That's right.
Leo and the
Leonard
Heritage
Leo.
Foundation and the Federalist
Which
Society. Oh
also
my
brings in
God.
which also brings in religion. Now take all that aside, okay? Now to
Yes, you do.
those of us, okay, you said earlier, and I'm going to leave this to Roseanne to do this because I want to hear from Roseanne because she knows this stuff in and out. But I want to say this before we move on to my friend Sam and everybody who is like me and Sam. Guys, I am an entrepreneur. I am a competitor. I am a producer. I'm a guy that likes to compete. What that means is I don't mind a market economy. I love a market economy. Now, I am a democratic socialist, so I think that we should have, the sorts of safety nets that need to happen and improvements to help people get off the streets and whatever we need to do. I'd rather spend trillions on cleaning up the homeless mess than 71 trillion on a bunch of people creating it, first and foremost. But in terms of the economy that could be connected, I've known this since the 90s, guys. We
Hmm.
could easily recreate the energy for infrastructure of the United States with approximately, and these are old figures, but let's just call it $7 trillion to create a modern day. Like you guys know that after World War II, we created the interstate infrastructure project, right? We just expanded freeways, we expanded the ability to grow, and so on and so forth. Paradigm change. We built the West out, yada yada yada. So, Sam, how desperate and urgent is the climate crisis, considering even probably tripling, quadrupling, gazillion times bigger in the fossil fuel energy industry that we've seen over the course of the last 30 years? They're all in on all coal, all oil, all natural gas right now.
Yep.
How scary is this right now?
Well, it's frightening because the population seems to be moving away from that because of the leadership or lack thereof that we have. I think what we're going to have to do is shift more toward. Um, I'm drawing a blank right now, but getting ready to deal with the changes that are going to happen to us, rather than preventing the changes from happening. We're going to have to be figuring out how to deal with it better. So that's the mindset that is among the scientists I know. They're like, well,
So,
how do you deal?
based on what I said, do we have a problem finding the money to fix our problems? Do we have a problem
No,
finding the money?
no.
Cheryl is absolutely right.
I
We
just
do
don't.
not have
Well,
a problem finding the money. We have the
well,
money. No,
but
no,
it
no, no.
has to
We
be.
have the
But
money.
it has to.
It's
But it
based
has
on
to be
productive
earmarked.
capacity.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has to be
okay. They
earmarked
did
for the right
not
stuff.
earmark $71 trillion for these guys that stole it by destroying tens of millions of people in the housing crisis. That's what they did.
Right.
They took a $4.5 trillion massive grift, which includes all the things. So get a load of this, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Roseanne. But Trump this week is going after with subpoenas. He's going after Obama. He's going after Clinton's. He's going after, all of the Democrats. But his whole thing is that they used falsification of documentation fraud. They fraudulently did this, that, and
Yep.
the other. Now, what's hilarious about that from where I'm sitting is this is the lie, deny, switch the blame, and implicate tactic of Trump, because that's what he's been doing his whole life. He's been lying on business documents his entire life. That, again, to remind you guys, that's what he got nailed for with 34 felony convictions, falsifying business records. Okay. But he's done that in his real estate projects. He did that in Trump University, blah, blah, blah. So he's basically projecting what he's guilty of. But here's the thing about Obama and all the rest of those guys. They weren't involved with documentation fraud to set him up. They don't do that shit. But I can tell you what Obama did do with Eric Holder. They let Wall Street get away with tens of millions of liars loans that led to liars foreclosures and liars derivatives. So this is karma coming back full circle but you can't escape what we're revealing to the world because we've got the evidence of all of it and we've got the answers. So if you understand the crime and you understand the corruption and you understand how they stole the money, what we're telling you guys is that we're not your salvation. The truth is. But if we can redeem the dream, if millions of people understand what we're dealing with. And so on that note, my friend Roseanne, please take us from the four questions to the precepts of the Clean New Deal.
I had one thing I want to say, if it's okay, before going to Roseanne. The talking about how Trump got his hooks into the evangelical crowd. I think it had, to me, it had 200% to do with the abortion issue. Was saying he was going to get that overturned, and he did. And I think they will never leave him because of that. He delivered.
That also goes to the Supreme Court, of course.
Yeah,
And that's the back
absolutely.
door. Yeah,
Absolutely.
They're corrupt, just like the evangelists are. They're corrupt. They're pedos, just like he is.
Yep.
They're disgusting. They're sickening. They're as corrupt as he is. And and news facts are getting buried. And with this, with Trump firing the person that was in charge of the job data, I don't know what you call it, the statistics
Bureau
or
of
labor
whatever, when the
Labor
statistics,
stats came
Statistics.
out,
labor. Yep.
BLS.
he fired that person. He's just going to Sharpie it all over the place to look like it's in his favor. It's the smaller outlets that are against this big freaking machine, and we're up for the fight of our lives. There were tiny little clusters of people looking for the truth, and we're up against the big giant fascist regime. And we're just gonna have to keep fighting. But how the hell are we gonna get ahead, Patrick?
Okay, listen, I'm going to do this and I'm going to have you reiterate this just real quick. I'm just going to set up the questions first, and then I want Roseanne to take us home because Roseanne, what they've told us, and this is so incredibly valuable to me, because Cheryl and Jen and Sam, guys, I'm so grateful for who you guys are and plugged into what we're doing because this is the thing that's going to save the world, not just ourselves. It's going to save the freaking world because otherwise, like I said, does anybody doubt this? Tens of millions of people are going to die.
Not at all. I don't doubt that at
Not
all.
at all. Not at all.
Okay, so
We've already had hundreds of thousands already die because of the cuts to USAID.
well, and millions died because of wars for 20 years of like wars on terror and so on and so forth that are all tied to this whole thing. Okay, so look, guys, we believe we had the rule of law, right? Supposedly, and what the rule of law in most of our minds are that you have common sense kind of constructs, whether it's driving too fast or buildings being built to code, or if you act improperly in the office that you could be held accountable, or if you murder somebody, you see accountability. I mean, those are just basic concepts of the law, right? Common sense, the lights have got to work, the trains have got to work, the planes have got to fly, all of that kind of stuff. That comes from the law. The law guarantees you got to do certain things to get licenses to operate. Otherwise, if you're operating in a situation where you're going to murder millions of people, you're not supposed to be able to get a license. Now that's all been turned on its head, and I'm being a little bit facetious. But there's always been, to your point, Cheryl, and to your point, Jen, and also to your point, Sam, there's always been a perversion of power in this country. Okay? And what we've identified from the very beginning is that we're not a democracy. We're not a democracy. What I like to say as a short kind of a ramp up, just to kind of encapsulate what we really are, we're a corporate fascist state, which means that those guys are above the law. But it's undergirded by the full faith and credit of the United States. Like I just told you, trillions of dollars go into corrupt situations. That's not the way it's designed. And by the way, when you look at the Clean New Deal, the white paper of Federal Reserve Act 13.3, you'll also see on there what the actual statute reads for Federal Reserve Act 13.3. It was written in the 30s to where you couldn't use the full faith and credit of the United States to float runs in commodities trading or in real estate. That's exactly what we did, guys. So it's against the law to do that. That's what I'm telling you. And it's in the statutes. And you might want to ask yourself, why is it that you're only hearing this from me? Why is this? Go ahead.
What statute is that?
Federal
You don't have
Reserve
my
Act,
legal background.
Federal Reserve Act 13.3. It's
Thank
in
you.
it's in the Clean New Deal under the white papers,
Okay.
as is everything that I'm saying. But
Okay.
when I talk about the perversion of power, guys, right? If we have two systems of law where the powerful people who have all the money, they're getting free money because they stole it, are above the law, are we a democracy?
Hell
No,
no.
no.
No, no, we're not a democracy. Especially if one rule, one person, one vote doesn't actually work because of gerrymandering and all of these, the perversion of the stuff that happens through the electoral college and so on and so forth, and gerrymandering, yada yada yada. So think of this as a technocratic answer to the technocratic pigs that have completely destroyed the world that we thought we lived in, but now they're showing us what really is. So there's four things that you have to understand, like a Rubik's Cube, the sides of the Rubik's Cube. The first is, what is qualified immunity? I'm going to ask you, Cheryl, what is qualified immunity?
You don't even want to get me started on qualified
I
immunity.
love it. I love it.
Fucking given the goddamn authority, immunity, given the authorities immunity from being held accountable for their corrupt and illegal actions against the fucking people.
And
Don't
she's
even get
talking
me
about the
started.
police. She's talking about the police that can shoot to kill and not be held accountable. So what
I'm
is
also talking about
And now
goddamn judges and the fucking president and everybody else who is
bingo?
protected
Well,
from some
Yeah,
type of fucking immunity.
okay. Okay, well,
yeah.
there you go. That so now you brought in the second side of the Rubik's Cube. What is then Jen expresses? What is judicial immunity?
I don't think, God, they're just getting away with everything. They're just, I,
Okay, so that's
don't even get
antithetical
me
to the
started.
law.
The
That's
Supreme
Did you
Court's
antithetical
ever
just
to the
hear?
law, right?
corrupt.
Does
Okay, okay.
anybody
So let me
ever
ask you,
hear?
Jen. Go ahead,
I
Jen.
was
You were
going to
saying
say, does
something.
anybody ever hear the term conflict of interest mentioned anymore?
Well,
Ever?
no,
No.
no. By the way, they all got rid of the inspector generals, okay, and they got to
Right.
inspect all of the technocrats within the DOJ and the FBI and the SEC that handle all that stuff. So they've
Right.
just basically greased the skids for the most corrupt, government in history. That's why I call it the RICO presidency for the transactional. I call him Rico Pig Don the Con. Hashtag Rico Pig Don the Con. That's what I call this nutball. But let me ask you the third qualifier, my friend. Let's see, what exactly is presidential immunity?
Repeat the question. My hearing's not the best. Repeat that.
Well, yeah, I was asking, well, to all of you, to Sam too. Let's get everybody's thoughts on this. What exactly does presidential immunity mean?
Well, it means they're not held accountable. I mean, they can't be held accountable, right?
Jen, what do you say?
I'm disgusted. What presidential immunity? There used to be. I mean, it's just he has the dudes without guardrails. I'm so pissed off.
The Supreme Court said that we've got what we call,
Right.
and this is what the technocrats created, years ago through the Koch enterprises, what they called the executive presidency, or the what is it called, the unitary president.
Unitarian.
Unitary. Thank you, Cheryl. So, in your words, what is presidential immunity?
I mean, there used to be a certain amount of presidential immunity that was, the same lack of accountability. But then, this corrupt asshole Heritage Foundation Supreme Court just bolstered it even more for this one president only.
It just
And
means
this one.
that we got a king. Okay, so
Yeah,
remind
that's
me?
true.
Does anybody
Yeah.
want to remind me? Does anybody want to remind me why we had the American Revolution?
Get rid
You're,
of the king.
No kings,
To
no
get rid of the
kings.
fucking
They
thing.
didn't want a king.
so isn't that kind of what the United States is supposed to be?
Yep, it's supposed to
I mean,
be.
okay,
Yeah.
but we're
Supposed
not.
to.
But we're not. We know that. Okay, so here's the final piece of this perverted sort of piece of the Rubik's Cube when you put it all together. Okay, so you've got three
Mhm.
sides of the Rubik's Cube together now, right? But you guys have all talked about this before: gerrymandering and basically cheating at rigging the elections. Okay, what guys? What is the Electoral College?
It needs to be
Racist as
abolished.
fuck.
Yeah. It's a holdover from pre-Civil War days.
From the
It's
three
ruled by the
fifths
minority.
compromise.
It's
Right.
Yeah.
ruled by the minority, is
Right.
what it is. Okay. Now they shrouded it behind this obfuscated kind of cloud of like, okay, once you get 2/3 of the states and the legislatures, they go with the will of the people, and they're on the record, and yada yada yada. Does anybody remember what happened in the 2020 election by way of what happened with the electoral college? Anybody remember falsification of documents?
Oh yeah, the false elector slate
Oh
for
yeah. Yeah. Right.
sure.
Right. Right.
11,300 votes.
He's
Yep,
stealing the
that's all
election.
we need. We only need.
Yeah, he's stealing
11.
the election with fake electors
Yeah.
to
Yep.
stack the deck of the electoral college to get the, what is it, the 273 votes, right? They were cheating and they got caught doing that. Okay, that was in 2020. But did they ever go to prison for that? That was all the stuff that was coming down in the RICO case in Georgia. That, of course, Fonnie Willis was having an affair with the guy that stalled it, and then they couldn't get it done, and all this other crap. But so when Donald Trump is saying about
Yeah.
Obama and everybody else falsifying documents, we're all on the same page that we know that's this little fucking douchebag projecting what he's been doing the whole time, right?
Every
Yep.
accusation is a confession.
Okay,
Yep.
so now we've all discovered we know what the
Every
problem
goddamn time.
we know what the problems are, we know what's on the line and everything else, but nobody knows where to start, right? Nobody knows where to
Right.
start except, wait a second, Roseanne, where do we start?
That's now I'm looking at you with like a deer in headlights because we're so fired up, but yet we feel helpless, but yet we're getting some information from you. So, but where, when? I mean, who's going to listen to us? We need strength in numbers.
Okay, you are 1,000% right. But we start with the money, which is the reason why, and I'm going to talk about the numbers because that's like super important as well. Okay? We're we're actually doing two things. We're building the plane and we're flying it at the same time. Very tricky.
Yeah.
Okay? Very, so think about it like this. We know the money continues to flow to the liars, to the pedophiles, to the betrayers of us. Okay? So the first thing is we institute a new Glass-Steagall Act that separates the investment banking from the commercial banking. Okay? Don't use our money to make speculative
Bets.
bets. You're right. Oh, are you good? You're very good. Thank you. You're younger than me. You get it out faster. I love you. Okay. So they did that in the first term of the FDR administration so that they were buying stuff on margin. They were corrupt all over the place.
She's referring to the Great Depression. The
Okay.
causality of the Great Depression is what created
We're
what she's
on our
about to
way
tell us.
there now. Again.
Yep.
So what we do, that Glass-Steagall Act lasted, gave us prosperity for a lot of white people, created the suburbs, blah, blah,
Okay,
blah.
hold on a second. I got to say this because this is the key, and you always forget to say this one part, but this is what makes everything important about this Glass-Steagall situation, okay? And you know this in your own lives in terms of your families and your friends and business. You got to align interest, okay? Everybody's, if they're going to try to work towards a goal, you got to have aligned interest. You can't have sporadic shit where the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. That's asymmetric information. That's designed for criminals, just so you know. That's how criminals operate. If you can't see what they're doing, then they can piss on your head telling you it's rain. That's basically how white collar fraud works. So what they figured out after the Great Depression, where they were using fractional reserve currency to hyperinflate bets, where everybody was getting a piece because it was all up, 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 until the whole house of cards fell because it was a giant Ponzi scheme. But they were gambling with other people's money. They were gambling with the deposits in the commercial banks for the CEOs of the banks to basically pull their money out. And when the powers that be figured out what created the Great Depression, they were like, okay, none of that anymore. You're not going to have gambling in commercial banks. You're going to have if you want to go in capitalism and you want to like throw a lot of money at a new idea and everything's great. That's great. That's risk reward. That's capitalism. That's the way it's supposed to be. But you can't do that stealing people's savings. You can't get inside their bank accounts and use their money to gamble on your freaking whims. Okay, that's what they did in the Great Depression. So what they ultimately did was they wrote in the statute the new Glass-Steagall Act, which created the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then the SEC Act of 1933. Is they basically said you got to align interest because we got to have finance and you got to have banks. People can't put their money inside their fucking, their bed, whatever. If you're going to have an economy, it just doesn't work that way. And you want people to borrow for houses and everything else, a lot of. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot gamble with other people's money on a global racketeering basis using collateralized debt obligations and CDOs and derivatives and yada yada yada. You can't do that because you're stealing from people's savings to do that. But then you can't give them bailouts to the tune of trillions of dollars with the full faith and credit of the United States, because the Federal Reserve can just create money at will. We're fiat currency. They can digitize money into existence. There's questions about, inflation, blah, blah, blah. But the fact is, the first precept is what we're saying is the financial system can't steal our money and then take future money from our government, our democracy, to fuel their racketeering. Make sense?
Yep.
That's the first precept. That's what we have to do.
And isn't Trump trying to get rid of that rule?
It already was. We've already gotten rid of that rule.
It's
gone.
We got rid of that in the Clinton administration.
Clinton took it away. Okay, but here's the
No,
thing.
I'm sorry. I got what you're saying. But there's something else that Trump's trying to do with the banks so they can go ahead and start stealing from people.
Crypto. They're trying to attach
crypto, but
yes.
Haven't you guys heard the rule? He's trying to make the banks sign off on something. I'm not sure. Maybe one of you guys know what it is. But he's trying to get the banks not only to do crypto, but to get rid of some sort of rule. And I'm not sure what that rule is, but it's just going to be bad for us.
Trust
Do you
me,
know
the
what
banks are
rule
okay.
I'm talking about?
The banks are okay with no rules. They love the no rules.
That's what they want.
That's what they. So any CEO, we'll go into that.
Okay, it's bank capital rules in major deregulation push.
Bank capital, then that's just simply basically they try to have what's called this was based on Dodd-Frank. That's where it's probably coming from, because the capital ratio is such that they have to be able to pass stress tests so that there's no run on the bank. That's part. So he's just saying, fuck that, because what he's doing is he's basically guaranteeing the Fed's going to bail him out. Don't worry about it, because the CEOs work on short term. Basically, they want the next quarter profit because they do what we call control fraud, which we show you in the con at thecon.tv, is that's how they get their bonuses. It's basically called modern executive compensation, and they do that through this litany of lies. So again, it's just like you're getting on a plane that's designed to crash, and the company's going to make a lot of money on you dying. That's what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Roseanne. Second part of
the I have to insert this right here because I want to keep our energy going, okay? And we know we go to the money that's the first thing with Glass-Steagall. Today,
That's what I'm confused about, Roseanne. It's like I heard a rule that Trump wants to fuck up some sort of bank deregulation or some sort of bank something, and I just saw a clip of it, And that's what I'm asking you guys, and I got confused about the rules and whatnot earlier, but what does anybody know what that is? What kind of a regulation or deregulation is he trying to pull? What kind of shit is he pulling now?
That's
Yeah,
what
and
Patrick just
I
explained.
did.
What's that?
I remember seeing something about it, but I didn't dig into it. Just, it's
That's
one
what
of
I
those.
was trying to get at. I just was drawing a blank. I couldn't get the wording right.
I don't know if you can see this. That's backwards, isn't it?
Ah, okay.
No, but that's what I'm
Okay.
talking about. That's the exact same thing. So we had, okay, after the great financial crisis, guys, we had this 1,200-page legislation called Dodd-Frank. In that, they created these capital ratios where banks had to pass stress tests so that they couldn't have runs to basically break the buck, is what happened in the 2008 great financial crisis. You got to think of this stuff as an engine, okay? And the whole engine operates on fuel. Dollars are fuel. But if there's some sort of tripwire to the carburetor or any other facet of the engine that doesn't work, the whole thing is going to blow. But if it blows, who's going to die? The people driving it or who bought the car, not the guys who sold the car.
Right.
They're getting bailed out by the Federal Reserve. That's what I'm telling you this whole time, Jen. They got bailed out by doing the exact same thing because we can print digits into thin air. In fact, that's a whole nother thing we could talk about forever. But banks loan money into thin air. They're not mediators. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So it goes on and on. So go ahead, Roseanne, in terms of the second part of that first precept.
Uh, okay. Glass-Steagall.
Just-
We did the Glass-Steagall. Oh,
Citizens United.
oh no, I know. The second precept that I think everybody agrees to, except those benefiting, has to be to get rid of Citizens United. We,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yes.
there should be no argument about that. The third piece is we can demonstrate very easily how all these trillions of dollars that went to criminals in suits with no shame, how that can be spent to redo the grid, affordable housing, Medicare for all, education, get rid of these private prisons, all of that, how it can be done. Now, after that, we have to get rid of the um,
Qualified immunity.
we have to get rid of qualified immunity that allows the police to do exactly whatever their little happy butts decide to do. Gotta go. We gotta get rid of judicial immunity. And when we do that, there has to be a code, a law, ethics in place to put their happy butts where they must be, to punish them. And let's expand the Supreme Court to
She's saying prison for people like Clarence Thomas who sold us down the river taking bribes.
yeah,
Does anybody in America not think the Supreme Court should be above the law? I mean, that's insane.
right.
I,
Who can
It's
argue?
crazy.
Right, it
It's
is.
crazy.
You know what, though? I'm going to stop here and I'm going to tell you what I was going to say, what popped into my head this morning. Who remembers the Saturday Night Massacre?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was born. I was just barely born.
so I'm sitting in Santa Clara, California, and I'm watching this on television. Nixon doesn't want Archibald Cox to subpoena the tapes that Nixon had secretly recorded. All about Watergate. It's fucking like the Epstein files, for Christ's sake, okay? Archibald Cox Elliot Richardson is the Attorney General of the United States. Nixon tells Elliot Richardson, fire Cox. Elliot Richardson says, no, I quit. And Cox resigns. Then they give it to Bork. You remember the name Bork?
Bork was one of the worst fucking Supreme Court justices, him and Powell.
Wait, well, so they give it to Bork to carry out the order to to um to get rid of Cox. Okay. He carries out the order because Nixon tells him he's going to make him a Supreme Court justice. Well, that didn't work out. So, ha ha ha. All right.
Oh yeah, that's right. He wasn't one, but he
So,
was an asshole.
yeah. So, but anyway, it was with Bork that there was the special counsel that Nixon got rid of Cox, but Bork actually had Leon Jaworski be the guy who did the Watergate hearings. Okay.
I was just
Because
a kid when all that went down. And I remember it. And that's when I started getting into politics. I think I
19,
was only like 11 years old or something like that.
it was
And
1973.
it's just I despised Nixon then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but here's the point. Elliot Richardson, as the Attorney General of the United States, said no. William Ruckelshaus said no. It took going through that. They get Bork, which is kind of like it's a very weird item, but we get still we get the Watergate hearings. We get them because people
Mm.
did the right thing. Imagine all the things that Trump is doing.
Nobody with spines anymore, Roseanne. Nobody's going to do the right thing except for small clusters of people like us.
Okay, and
Right.
that's
And what
fine.
happens if we don't win, right? What happened in Nazi Germany? What happened when everybody just went along to go on?
Yep.
Nobody's going to come to
That's
our
exactly
rescue.
what happened, right?
We have
So,
been the world's bully. Nobody is going to come to our rescue.
Well, okay, but I'm saying the people of Germany, when Hitler took over with Goebbels and everyone else, the people of Germany basically didn't want to rock the boat. They went along with it. And the
Mm-mm.
next thing you know, you've got the Nazi Party and you got a world war that comes as a result of it. And ultimately, 70 plus million people die. So, your point, yeah, people have got to do the right thing, which we used to think was just kind of like what we did as Americans. But obviously, we can all see that that's not the case anymore.
Well, I
hey,
knew that
one
was
thing
going to
I gotta,
happen right
I'm gonna
after
have
the day
to.
after the
Wait,
election, too,
Sam's
when those petitions came out. Trump freaking cheated with the help of Musk. Sorry, Cheryl, go ahead. My bad
I don't know.
hearing. Go ahead.
No, it was James.
Oh, yeah.
We keep
Just
muffling
real quick,
James.
I'm gonna have to jump off here, but I just, this discussion about Supreme Court. Can anybody imagine Emile Beauvais being on the Supreme Court? Could you imagine?
Well,
I mean,
that's
It's,
he's
what they're
Dracula
doing.
in the
That's what they're
I
doing,
background.
know.
guys. Okay, and before you go, I want to just say for this, Sam, and then we keep going with the rest of us. I hope for a few more minutes, but Sam, guys, listen. Please understand, it's too late to pretend like democracy is going to save us. It's
I
going
know.
to take a movement
I know.
of millions of
I know.
people equipped with the truth, willing to basically go the distance because they are going to destroy everything else that they haven't already destroyed, which means millions of people are going to fucking die.
Yeah, I absolutely, completely agree. And I do want to say I hope I didn't cause confusion. And when I figured out how to change my name on the screen from James to Sam, but basically I go by Sam, and that's my email address and account and all that stuff. I publish as James, so that's why the dichotomy there. But so great talking to everybody. We'll you know where to find me now. We'll be in touch.
Nice meeting you, James. I mean, Sam.
Okay. Hey, take care.
We'll see you on
Bye
Blue
bye.
Sky. But see, here's the only point I'm trying to make. Because I was so small, because I was like 10 years old when I saw corruption. And then as the years went on, I saw kids in my neighborhood being murdered by their boyfriends, and the boyfriend's father was a mob guy. And then they go to court, and then the judge lets them off because I saw all that, because I saw what my neighborhood did and what the politicians did to people. I never stopped going to do the right thing. I'd go around, over, under, behind, upside down, you name it. I cannot stop. I cannot stop. And what I want to do is give what's inside of me with the facts, the precepts that I believe, and I think we all here believe that nobody can argue with. So all we have to do is light a fire under their little happy butts and get them out there moving. They got to say no on the local level. They got to say, screw you, I ain't going to do this. This is the right thing. The attorneys, we've got the new untouchables now. They have people, they have lawyers, all kinds of great, talented, reputable lawyers that have been working, that want to work for free for people who have been victims of all this immigration, of all the bullshit ICE stuff. We we have such a job. It's up to us to ignite everybody out there on Blue Sky, on Substack, on Facebook, wherever we go. I do it in the parking lots. I do it in the store. I do it at the dentist, at the doctor. I talk to the doctor. My doctor, he's, doing my stuff, and I'm talking to him about it. He goes, "Oh, yeah, Roseanne, that's pretty good." Okay, so follow me, follow me, follow me. That's the clean new deal. That is, here it is. Here's the plane. We're flying it, and we're building this audience so that they can spread it, spread it, spread it. Because nobody wants to fly on the new on the new airline unless they can get it for cheap flights and this and that and other thing. Well, you know what? We have to convince people that they have to make the right decision, the correct decision, the leap of faith, so that we do not turn into Nazi Germany and what happened in Italy under
See,
Mussolini.
see,
Okay, we
you and
have to
Patrick.
inspire them.
Okay, but just real quick, because she almost got that, and she's beautiful and everything. I want to just encapsulate a couple things, and I want you guys to then tell us how you're feeling about this moving forward. Okay, So we talked about a new Glass-Steagall, get rid of Citizens United, demonstrate how $71 trillion was stolen and how we can actually better budget that because everything is money. We got to get rid of qualified immunity, get rid of judicial immunity, get rid of presidential immunity, and turn the tables on the Electoral College. Get 13 justices on the Supreme Court to counteract the Roberts Court. And then we can't have Congress front running by insider trading on stuff that they're going to fund because that's what they can do now. And that's why you get a corrupt Congress that has both sides. Nancy Pelosi's husband and her have made hundreds of millions of dollars while they've been in office because of this ability for, like, if they're going to fund drugs, they're going to fund ICE, whatever the case is, they can buy the stocks of the company that are doing that, they're funding, and that's completely conflicts of interest. Like James, or I should say Sam just said. And I think that's it, Oh, and then maybe the last part of it is potentially, what's it called? Ranked choice voting.
Term limits.
Term limits. Okay. So I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to leave it to you guys to ask us questions. So I know Texas Rebel is, you say fight back, damn it, right? On your fight back. And Jen's like, okay, but we're scared. People have got objectives, but they don't know where to start and everything else. You got to start with understanding the tumor. The tumor is corruption. How do you defeat corruption? The law. How do you get people in positions of power that are going to administer the law and not be corrupt? You have a fucking either revolution or millions of people come to the table listening to what we're saying because we've got the facts to back every single thing up that we're talking about. And we also, like Roseanne said, we work with the top of the top of the top. Former prosecutors at the Department of Justice, former guys at the FBI, former guys at the SEC, state AGs, all of whom were on the right side of this shit. That took down Enron, that took down WorldCom, that took down the savings and loan crisis, that took down all sorts of stuff that you never heard of. And, by the way, took down La Cosa Nostra, okay? That's who these guys are. So they are all involved with international crime and money laundering and real estate and all of the stuff that is Putin, Trump, and all the clowns that they frickin' completely control. Is there a way we can destroy the tumor of corruption? Yeah, with the chemo of truth. And that's what we're doing here. So now I'm going to be quiet, and hopefully you guys, anything you guys want to ask us and say you heard, didn't hear, have any clarification, would love to just hear what you have to say.
Well, I was like, when we were talking about judicial immunity and all that, I'm like, kind of, what is it? Because they have like no guardrails, and we don't have the people with the spines to stand up like we did back in the 70s when I was just a kid and I was witnessing all this stuff going on. And it's like, that's why when you ask me, okay, what is immunity? There's nothing. There's like no guardrails. And like the day after the election, I knew when those petitions came out, and I signed them, and I started one on my own because they were mysteriously taken down. I knew stuff was in the crapper from the get-go, and it was only getting worse from what it was before. I mean, we all had in the back of our minds that there's corruption and this and that, but we were, face it, kind of complacent because we were just going on with our lives and whatnot until Trump stepped into the picture. So we need people more like Pat, more like Roseanne, or modern day Woodward and Bernstein's is how I like to say about you guys that you two are like, because we need some people with spines to back us up. Back at you, Patrick. Um, so what, so I'm not the smartest person here, but you guys, you all have a lot of brains or whatnot, and I'm just fired up. But
That's
and
what we
I'm
want.
smart, but what's that?
That's what
No.
we want. Be fired.
People to be fired up.
That's what we got to do.
I'm asking people to be the supernova of the truth. What is the supernova? So think about this as a biblical construct, okay, and universal construct at that, okay. No, let me just play with this, okay, Cheryl, because I think it's hilarious. I'm like you. I'm a science, all about just
Reality.
technology and reality and everything else. Trust me. But I love metaphors, and I love, context and everything else. And I do think it is a internal struggle between good and evil, quite frankly. Okay. Everything throughout history has always been this way. Right. But what I'm suggesting, by way of, this construct is, look, all these assholes, I'm gonna use that term, Cheryl, all these freaking numbskulls that are the, you said it earlier, evangelicals, right? These people are from hell. They are a degenerate, like they're going to sit on the sidelines and they're going to let a rapist pedophilia get away with this, and they're going to judge everybody else about going to hell. I think they got the wrong concept of heaven and hell, first and foremost, right? But second of all, what I'm saying is they talk about, and this is really entrenched in this administration, and this is entrenched in the Middle East, particularly with the far right side of what's going on in Israel with Gaza. There is an end of the world biblical Armageddon slash rapture mindset. They really truly believe that this is the end times. They really believe that that's what they're justifying genocide and all of these other things. And they've been planning this for years, the evangelicals and the far right, Orthodox guys. I mean, this is religious zealism, right? And but yet the construct of the Armageddon slash rapture is that the wicked are controlling the world through lies, and the light is going to come through to break them, and they will all be, I guess, judgment, right? Judgment day. That's the idea. That's the idea.
Fall to their
So,
knees in judgment.
right. So the funny thing and the irony is the ones who believe that are actually the dark forces. They're the ones lying. We're coming in with the truth. And from a universal construct, what we know about the Big Bang, this is what we know about the Big Bang. Okay? It came from nothing, right? To create infinity. But how does it do that? Well, if you understand cosmology, if you understand physics, it's because of the kinetic energy that creates the light force. Literally, the light overcomes darkness. So we always say when you have the truth, you live in light. And everybody's got to become a nuclear vector for the truth, because that's the only way we can crush the corruption. Because that's what we got to do, is we got to crush the corruption.
Hey, Patrick, speaking of corruption and then going on to this gerrymandering going on, how are we going to get around that? Are we actually going to be able to vote in 2026? I mean, what's your take on that? Do you think, and then all this like New York and California, they're talking about doing the same things, but rules written years ago into their state constitutions are saying that they can't go ahead and add like five more seats like Texas is going to do. And
We can't keep playing by rules. We can't. They're not now. We can't keep playing by rules right now. We can
I
reinstitute
know, but how
rules.
are they going to do it when Texas isn't doing it? But then they're all like, so, oh, we don't want to rock the boat like everybody was saying. We can't do that till 2028. It's going to be too freaking late.
So
So
let me answer it this way. Let me answer it this way. To your point, and I know what's going on in Texas, and I follow Mark Elias, and he's out in front of it, and he's a guy with, he's been fighting all of this gerrymandering stuff for a long time, and he's well funded, and we know what Gavin Newsom's talking about, we know what Pritzker's talking about, and now we know what the governor of New York, whose name eludes me at the moment. Okay, makes all.
Adams.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They
what'd
all
you
make.
say, sure? Who?
Adams.
No,
Ah,
no, not
or,
Adams. She was the mayor of. He was the mayor of New York who was corrupt.
No,
There's a
he's still
woman.
there.
Yeah, I know,
Oh,
but
the
the woman
governor is Kathy Hochul.
Hogle. That's what I'm talking
that's
about. Yeah.
right.
So okay, but this is what I want you guys to think about. What all of the information we're talking about. First of all, the 2008 crisis destroyed at least 30 million Americans directly through the housing side. That doesn't include tens of millions of people with pensions. Around the world, we're talking 150, 300 million people. There's at least 30 to 50 million Americans that were directly impacted that still don't have a clue of what's going on, first and foremost. If you guys have heard of that 3.5% rule, it takes 3.5% of the people to rise up to change the system.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we've seen this summer, for example, no Kings and the 50501, right? And we've all participated in that. I was a speaker at one, which was really wonderful. I was in front of 10,000 people relaying the new Untouchables and what we're doing, what Roseanne had mentioned earlier. But what I'm here to tell you guys and everybody watching this, 3.5% of let's say 200 million adults is what? Anybody want to do the math on that real quick? It's much less than the 50 million Americans that got crushed by the 2008 crisis. We're giving the truth, okay? And what we're trying to do, and what I've experienced because of all, you got to have a popular uprising first and foremost, like a civil rights movement, okay? And that's got to be the Clean New Deal. But you got to have people in the courts jamming up the system to turn the table on this flood the zone strategy, which is what our guys, the new Untouchables, are doing. So if you ever see what we do with the new Untouchables, they're doing that on behalf of victims of ICE, victims of the tariffs, overreach, and they're going after Elon Musk and Section 230, and they've got more going on. And we're involved with some heavy duty players in terms of whistleblowers, okay? We're getting tons and tons of whistleblowers from the Trump administration, which is going to be really, well, people that were in the FBI, the SEC, all that kind of stuff. They're all coming out of the woodwork and we're working with them. But in terms of, we have got to show up next summer in Washington, D.C. by the millions. By the
What was
millions.
this?
We have got to surround the corrupt Supreme Court. We've got to surround corrupt Federal Reserve. We got to surround the White House. We got to surround Congress. We got to surround the FBI and the Department of Justice. The people around America have got to go to DC where we surround, protest, put our lives on the line, and then go to the National Mall where we stand underneath Lincoln and Martin Luther King, who both said, "A nation undivided and for the people shall not perish from this earth, and the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice," right? The people have got to rise above the corruption because that's the only way we're going to get our country back. That means we'll have plans for ballots. We'll have candidates that fit under the Clean New Deal purview that are championing this whole thing, that we're going to build, like, just imagine the People's Project 2025. That's the Clean New Deal. Project 2025 is for billionaires.
Hey Patrick, the speaking of that, and then with this project and everything going on, and the judges that are now the local judges that are barely keeping our democracy together just by a string, and all the higher ups like Trump and his band of reverse Robin Hoods and everything, they keep sending everything up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court keeps bitch slapping these judges back down. So, how are we going to get around that? And then also, I mean, I know by what you said, and I've delved into the stuff that you have on there with the new Untouchables and the Clean New Deal and and whatnot. And I've subscribed to your channel. But what I'm trying to get to is, are we going to be able to hang on? And I predicted too that it's going to get bloody, it's going to get violent. We're all going to have to, like you said, just march and risk our lives and get to Washington. But are we going to be able to hang on? When do we go?
So,
Are we going to
so
pick a
to your,
date?
so to your point, okay, I'd like to do it July 4th, but I don't know. We'll see. The we got to get millions of followers first, okay? And then they got to speak our language, and they got to be like you, and they got to be like Cheryl, and they got to be like Sam and the rest of us, but they got to be equipped with the principles of the Clean New Deal or the precepts, because once you unpack what we're laying out, you solve all the riddles that most people are interested in, whether it's climate change, ending systemic prisons, and all that stuff. But to your point about can we hang on long enough? Look, this is going to sound kind of interesting to some people, but this is the whole idea with the new Untouchables. They're trying to extract the liars in the Department of Justice into state legislatures, because the state legislatures could subpoena over what we call NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, to get the whistleblower testimony to prove the illegality of what's happening in all of these different institutions under the Trump administration. So it's basically setting a trap, first and foremost. But we want to bring out the Department of Justice counsel that are going to sue to try to bankrupt these whistleblowers, and we're going to catch them doing what they were hired to do: lie, because they're all fucking idiot liars. And if you
Okay.
lie in a court of law, in front of a judge who isn't corrupt, you lose your bar license. So we've got to get these guys into courts and appellate courts and Democratic districts and Democratic legislatures so that they are not part of the Trump corruption, so that we can prove they are lying, and the bar has no choice than to pull their bar license. So
Okay.
you expose them, and we tell their stories. So we're catching lying Department of Justice guys who are corrupt for the Trump, and it's really easy to catch them in lies. We're not talking about difficult legal concepts here. It's like, here's the murder weapon, here's the evidence of Epstein. What are you guys doing? You're letting the person who set the whole thing up go to Camp Fed down in Bryan, Texas, Club Fed, because of why? When she was sentenced to 20 years? That's illegal. You can't do that. You can't do that after the fact, but you can do it if you're in a corrupt court. So if they're at the Supreme Court, which is corrupt, they can. So the Supreme Court etch-a-sketched the American Civil War. They literally were like, yeah, don't worry about federal reserve, excuse me, the 14th Amendment, Section 3. It says in there clearly, any person with a high school education can see it and understand it, that if you're involved with an insurrection, you cannot participate as an officer of the United States.
But yet, here we are.
Because they got it in corrupt courts, and the Supreme Court.
Exactly.
So there's ways to, okay, look, we're in the late hour. We're in the bottom of the ninth, and it's getting dark. They got a bunch of runs on us, okay? But we got some heavy hitters coming to the plate, and we know how to beat these bastards. But what we really need above all of the people we put together is we got to break through the truth, man. We've got to break through. Okay, so like we saw that Paramount Pictures bent the knee to get a mega merger for Trump, right? So they basically wanted to rug pull 60 Minutes, among other things, even though 60 Minutes hasn't done a great job in the last decade. But the bottom line is that's just another example of corruption. What do these tall building law firms do? They're like, we're going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars of pro bono work so that you can carry out illegal, getting moving people out of the country without habeas corpus and due process, right? They've corrupted the whole system. And what we've been trying to tell people from the very beginning for now years, and we've got the whole goddamn story, is that they're all lying to you. Every single part of power is lying to you. They stole trillions of dollars. They're above the law. They're going to destroy millions of people. What are you waiting for? We've got the answers.
Boom. Boom.
We just have to keep going. We just have to keep going. We
I'm
have
just
to.
surprised you guys don't have any more followers than you do. You guys, I've been trying to promote you so much to get
We
you
know. Love
followers.
you.
We need you guys, you have to have like 1 million followers. And I mean,
We
we
just
have to
need a
get
hand,
you there.
but a tidal wave starts with a ripple. That's energy. That's how it works. That's the natural world. And here you are, Jen. Yes, this is a mega merger, right? Because you're like millions of people that don't know what to do, might be afraid, might not have all the answers, be curious. And so the question that people have to
All the
understand,
above.
all of the above, the question is, why do people want to trust us, Jen? And should they trust us?
They have to trust us because we're right. We're in the right. We're not corrupt. We're not criminals. And we just
It's not that hard, is it? It's not rocket
no,
science. It's
no. It's
racketeering.
but it's hard to convince them and like it goes back to them being afraid. Why are so many people afraid of Trump? I don't get it.
Because
It's
that's how
just
authoritarianism works. People are always looking out for themselves, right? See, the people that could
yeah.
have stopped it, this is what would have happened 13 years ago if shit went the right way. If we
If
didn't
fucking
bail out,
Merrick Garland would have done his job.
right, that too. If we didn't bail out the uber rich and the top 10% that are the most educated, then the top 10% would have lost everything, and they're the most educated. They
Yeah.
would have they would
I
have
remember
said
you saying this
they,
last time too.
they would have said, fuck you. You're not fucking destroying me. We're coming after you. But instead, they paid off the top 10%. And so they're like, my stocks are doing great. My house is doing great. What's there to what's the problem? That's what happened. That's what
Yeah.
happened. And then everybody below the line, they're too busy surviving, and most of them don't know how systems work. Really, they're like it's like another universe to them. They're like, ask them how many representatives we have. They wouldn't know. Ask them what the budget is. They wouldn't know. How does a law become a law? People from my generation know because of Schoolhouse Rock and so forth. But most people have that much understanding of power.
Okay. We need to get, like Roseanne said, to just get the fire lit under people's asses and we gotta just steamroll it. We gotta start steamrolling,
That's right.
guys. And it's just, and I need your guidance. So, so,
That's
yep.
right. That's what we
Check,
got.
I'll show you something better here. Check this out. I think I've got. Okay, let's see if this pops up on my.
All
Oh
right, let's see what I
yeah.
get. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. Oh, Roseanne, did you see that?
I don't know how to do that, but I'm gonna
I
have to
don't either,
find
but
out.
I
That
got,
was
okay, wait a
hilarious,
minute. Let me
wasn't
get
it?
my readers on. Oh, here we go.
Oh, I know where it's at now. Here it is.
Yep, you did it.
Beauty.
Or I kind of like this.
Ah.
We're even more powerful. See,
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one, Roseanne.
Jen,
All right, back down to business.
I'm like totally focused. Okay. I'm
Okay,
totally focused. That's all I do. I do I do sharing of our stuff. I get more followers. And I feed
you're
people.
laser focused.
That's what I do.
She's incredible. Hey guys, I've got to go. Unfortunately, I'm going to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but
All right, listen. Keep the faith, baby. Failure
you
is
get, you,
not
I'm
an
on it,
option.
sister. I'm
Okay?
on it. I'll see you later, okay, Roseanne? And I hope I get to do another show with you.
Oh, for sure. Listen,
All right, Hey,
we can do
we're
it.
gonna get fired up, sister. I'll get you more followers.
That's all we got to do. Okay?
Okay,
We got to make people, when they see our stuff, they got to
yep.
say, yep, I don't want to suffer anymore. I'm through. Failure is not an option,
Agree with you 100%.
right?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We are.
All
We
right.
shall
All
overcome.
right.
Okay? Thank you.
I'll
Thank
see you
you.
later. Over and out, sister.
Over and out.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.